Today's interview is with my little sister, who is a gifted medium and has had 2 near-death experiences that she's going to talk about. Even as a little girl, she was able to see angels that I couldn't see. And today she's going to talk about being an empath, how to protect your energy, and how you could better connect with the other side to see signs and synchronicities from the universe. Are you ready? Today's guest is Stephane Teater. Stephane has had 2 life-changing near-death experiences, and she has been empathic and intuitive and had a lot of connections to the other side. And today we're going to learn about some of the signs and synchronicities, and Stephane's going to share some tips on how you can actually connect to your own signs and synchronicities. So Stephane, why don't you start with the first thing that I can really remember with you ever having any connection was when we were at our grandparents when I was about 7 and I think you were about 4.
Okay. So we used to go to our grandparents' house when for holidays, Christmas, Easter, things like that. I don't remember which holiday it was, but we would lay on a couch that turned into a bed. And we were out in the living room and they had a ceiling fan that was on your side of the bed. And I was looking at it and I saw orbs that were colored. They were colorful orbs. And I knew they were angels. And I remember telling you that I was seeing angels, and don't you see them?
And I was like, no, I don't.
And I couldn't understand why you didn't.
Well, and it's funny because it's like I was young, probably around 7. So it's not like I was closed. I think when you're younger, you're open to different ideas. So it wasn't as if I didn't believe you, but I genuinely wanted to see them so badly and could not see them.
Right. And I couldn't understand why you weren't. And so I kept saying, can't you see them? Can't you see them? Like, I don't understand why you're not seeing these.
Right. And so did that make you feel like you had thought that maybe everybody could see them?
I think I did at that time, but it really made me kind of question whether people could not see or feel the same things that I did. But more than I don't think at that time I was really thinking so much about that. So to me, in my mind, it really stands out when I was in around 3rd grade and I was with some friends. They were neighbors of ours, and I was telling them things that I was feeling and things I was getting, and they just didn't feel or were getting the same things, and they start throwing stones at me, telling me I was crazy.
Wow.
And I can't remember the conversation or what we were talking about. I just remember they started doing that, and I started saying, well, they threw stones at Jesus. And you're going to be in so much trouble because you're throwing stones at me like they threw stones at Jesus.
Which is also crazy because it's not like we had a super religious upbringing.
No. I mean, for us, the most that we had, was we would go to church and
Our grandparents, not yeah. So it is kind of unusual that you would maybe even absorb or remember anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot of classes and things like that throughout my life, trying to hone in on all of my abilities and just making them the best that they could be, and getting more experience through other people, and trying to form relationships and groups with other people that felt like I did, thought like I did, had connections like I did. And I went to one seminar, and they take you through this deep, deep meditation. And in that meditation, I was there with Jesus when they were persecuting him. And so it may have been something like that, like an instant connection to that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was like
Well,
I was right there. It was so surreal.
you've always been connected, more connected even than I have. And it manifested and you understood and felt that much earlier than I did. So you have been what I call an empath. And so for people who don't know, why don't you explain what an empath is and how that's impacted your life?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, at first I didn't know a word for it. I didn't know for quite some time what to call it. So I would get thoughts of other people's or feelings that I knew other people were feeling, usually how it involved with me, like how they were feeling about me. And so in school growing up, it was really, really difficult.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think most people, if they had a choice, probably wouldn't exactly want to know what everybody's thinking about them,
no,
especially not at those ages.
no, for sure. And it's sometimes it's still hard. You almost feel like you're going crazy. Like that's how I used to feel. Like I don't know how I'm getting this. Somebody was thinking about me, and I know. And I would have feelings about an ex, and I wouldn't know where that was coming from, or I would know before somebody would call me.
Well,
And so, it was like that. It's like been like that my whole life. And then later on, I found out. I think first through another intuitive who was a friend of mine. I learned from her that I was an empath. And then I really did some research into what is that? What does that mean? And I could check every box thinking, this is me.
so give everybody an example of a few things that are boxes that would be checked that would help you understand that you're an empath.
Okay. Knowing what other people are feeling.
So you would actually almost absorb their feelings. Would it feel like they're your own feelings?
Well, sometimes if they're not around and I would be feeling it, it it would feel like I don't know why I was feeling happy, and then all of a sudden I started feeling really sad. And it would take me about 2 days to figure out, oh, this isn't me. This is somebody else. And the trick I started using was when I would start feeling like that, and wouldn't, at first you feel like it's your own feelings. So, but then after a couple of days, you're like, I just don't understand why I continue to feel like this. I was so happy just the other day, and all of a sudden I'm so depressed, or I'm so sad, or whatever it is. I'm so angry. And then when I would realize, oh, this isn't me, I would say it out loud. I would say, oh, this isn't me. This is somebody else. And I'd usually know like where it was coming from. It would instantly stop. I wouldn't feel crazy anymore. It would just instantly stop. Now, if it was me, because there's a difference. If it was me and I would say that, it wouldn't stop. And then I know, okay, this is something I need to deal with. Somehow this has come up for me. So there is a really a fine line between that. But if you're getting this a lot, I suggest that you do that you say, oh, this is, I don't think this is me. This isn't me. And see if it stops.
So having this over the course of your life, absolutely led to thoughts and feelings of not being happy. You also were connecting to the other side and you missed, I think, the feeling of not being connected. And this manifested for you in sadness and depression. So I don't want you to go super deep into the depression. I actually am going to list a video that we did where we had a discussion a couple of years ago where we talked about this, and you've given some tips for people who have depression. But this is a great segue to go into talking about your two near-death experiences.
Okay. Well, I've had depression all my life. And so there's been suicide attempts. And I tried to take my life through a suicide attempt. And the time that I actually died for a little while, my heart stopped. I went to the other side. And the first thing that happened was I was in this doorway, and I was like standing in the doorway, looking like you're looking into a room. And it was a small room. It looked like a little chapel almost. It had pews that were going up. So I'm standing in the back of the chapel. I'm looking up. I see 2 people here, 3 people here, another 3 here, another couple of people here. And it wasn't filled up, and there weren't that many pews in the first place. But in front of me, towards the center of the church or chapel or whatever you want to call it, it looked like a little hospital chapel is the closest thing I can associate it with, because I've seen those. It was this figure. It was this brilliant light. And so it was around this being, but it had form, right? But the light was like all encompassing, and it was around and emanating from it. And the love, the love was so powerful, coming from this being. And it didn't walk up to me. It just kind of like floated towards me, and it said, "I want to show you something." And it took me to this field where it took me to this field, and I won't go too much into detail about it. And it said, "I want to show you what it'd be like if you stayed here," and it did so. And then it said, "I want to show you what it's like if you go back." And I think I was most interested in what that was. And I know that they showed me a lot. I felt like I was there for a really long time. But then they brought me back too. And when I woke up, I remembered everything that happened, except I don't remember what they showed me. And so obviously I had made the choice, because they gave me a choice whether to stay or come back. And I had made the choice. But I have to tell you, the instant that I realized I made the choice to come back, I was so mad. I was so mad at myself. Like, why am I back here? I was trying to escape here. I was trying to go to the other side. Why would I choose to come back here? But that was my first one.
Do you have any sense of who that being might have been?
I don't. Not in that one. It just was. I don't know if it was a guide, if it was an angel. I don't know. I really don't know. And I never really wondered. It was just a loving being showing me. And so I never was really curious about that one.
What about the people in the chapel? Did you recognize any of the people in the chapel?
Well, I was seeing the backs of their heads, but I don't think I knew any of them.
Hmm.
It was almost like that was a waiting area, like a greeting place, or I don't know exactly what it was.
Okay, so how old were you when that first one happened?
I was in my 30s.
Okay. And then why don't you tell about the second one?
Oh, well, the second one happened in my 40s, and I I've had lots of illnesses throughout my life. And so I was having strokes at that time. And I crashed to the ground in front of the door. I knew a stroke was coming on, and I crashed to the ground. And I had already called my boyfriend at the time, and he was on his way home. But I passed out somehow. And I was taken to this 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 like uh it was a beach area, and it was a really long beach, like white sand beach, and there were trees over here and lush green trees, really thick, and there was water over here to my right, and then rock formations over that, and then you could see like the water went out to an ocean. And I was looking down the beach, and there was a figure down there emanating light all around it, from it, through it. It had form, but I didn't know who it was. And then all of a sudden it was before me, and it felt like Jesus. And at least it felt like it. I don't know for certain, but it really felt like it. And at that time they were talking to me about my troubles, and they said, I want you to look down at a grain of sand. And so I was thinking, how can you pick out a grain of sand in all of this, right? And they said, I want you to concentrate on just a grain. And then I want you to know that your troubles here on earth are like the whole of this beach being the whole of things, and you're just concentrating on one speck. And then after that, I came back, and that was that was really a stunning experience, and boy, did it make a lot of sense.
So that was a stroke.
Yeah,
And
I had a stroke.
in that, so the first time was an attempted suicide and the second time was a stroke.
Yes.
What was the difference between the two different beings of light, would you say?
I don't know that there's a bunch of difference. It was just like I knew, like a feeling like this is Jesus. And almost a knowing of some sort. But I guess that the biggest difference would be the light was emanating through this being. It was like it was Jesus. It was all around, but it was like the light was like behind and forward, and so it was like it was shining right through. it was coming from him, but it wasn't. It was also coming from behind him. It was just a grander light.
And when this being was communicating with you, was it through English, through words? How was it?
No, it was telepathically. English in my mind, right? Because I could understand. So I would assume it was English because I could understand it. But it wasn't like like that, like the mouth was moving or anything like that. You could just hear it, but it would be just like you and I talking, and I know everything you're saying. It's like that, but it's internal.
And so has this experience faded over time because this was many years ago for you?
Oh gosh, no. No, no, no. None of the experiences have faded like that for me.
So they're
It was,
as real,
oh my gosh,
not like a
it's like it
dream.
was yesterday, like last night, um like I just was there. Like when I think about it, it's like I just have this just happened. So it's different than a dream, right? Because you have a dream and I can't even remember what I dreamt 2 days ago, let alone remember, you know, what I dreamt years ago. And so, but this is so real. It's almost like every bit of it is as fresh in my memory today as it was then, and it just doesn't fade.
So how did your abilities, because you already had some prior to these experiences, how did that change?
Well, I think that, so it was like early 30s, I think, when I had the first one. And after that happened, I was getting more, um I was able to speak with people that had crossed over. I was getting more from them. So before that, I was really intuitive and or psychic, whatever you want to call it. I've always just said intuitive just because it was, we've grown up in a different era than now where it's really widely accepted. And back then, to say you were psychic wasn't. So I always said intuitive because that seemed to be more accepted than saying psychic.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's whatever you want to call it, intuitive, psychic. It means the same thing to me. So I was intuitive prior, but then I just started being able to connect with people that had crossed over. So it happened once or twice before,
Passed
but
away
it
loved
wasn't
one.
like all the
God.
time. And now it seems like it's in every reading I have. It starts out where they'll usually show me people that have crossed over, who's there for you, your spiritual team, angels, your spirit guides, and people that have crossed over that are on your side. And then and so now they come forward, and I wasn't getting that before when I was doing intuitive work. It was just mostly what I was feeling, what I was being shown, but it wasn't people that had passed away prior.
So you've been doing readings for how many years now?
Well, I've been professionally doing readings for 10, and then prior to that I did readings for friends and family and close friends and family, and I've been doing that since my 20s.
So your life is full of synchronicities, and the other side often gives you messages to help kind of guide you. And I think that everybody watching, so when we hear about these stories, they're exciting to listen to, but I think there's always an element of, it doesn't feel real until you have the similar experience yourself. So what kind of advice could you give to people to help them to be able to hear their own guidance?
Well, I think, I wanted to mention that one of the things that I recently heard or read, um, was that they were talking about, um, if you've been having experiences with, ghosts or hauntings in your house or places you've lived, and we have a good story about that, then you it's probably not the places, it's probably you. And most of the places that I've lived in have had that. And so I think that people should be aware that if they're having a lot of those experiences, that may be them, or it may be somebody close to them that is, psychic, intuitive, empath, one of these things in this realm that's going on.
And I know that you've taught yourself over time through your experiences to either amplify to better hear or to turn it off when you don't want to hear. So can you explain to people how that works for you?
Sure. Well, so for me, going into a space of thinking, and I literally do things like I go in, I light candles before a reading, I will meditate, I will ask God to come in, I will ask my angels and spirit guides for a higher power to assist in that, and then I bring in the person's saying things for them, and and people that have passed away loved ones, because I want to come from a higher place. I think one of the things that, um, kind of scares people and can happen is when you just open yourself up to anything can come in. And so, I think that's really important to make sure that's coming from a higher place. Also, for me, sometimes I feel overwhelmed when I'm in a crowd, or, a space where I don't feel comfortable, or whatever it may be. And I do a couple of things. One of the things that is most helpful that I first started out doing was putting a white light. I imagine a white light surrounding me and protecting me from anything outside. And I always put love inside this bubble, right? And I've always told my children, when you don't feel safe, do this. So, and this will help you. And and so they've always used it. And then and that helps. That helps you when you're going out. It helps you in situations. The other thing is if you're in maybe a toxic relationship, because I've had those, or you're going in where you think there's going to be an argument. I imagine two-way mirrors, like when you watch the police shows and you can see through one side, but they look at the mirror and they can't see through.
Mm-hmm.
So you put the mirrors all the way around you, completely around you. You can see through, but the people on the outside can't see you. And I bring down what you would do with with the white light, all the love and protection. I bring that down into this like a cylinder. And I imagine these mirrors going way up to the sky. So nothing can come over them, nothing can get in them whatsoever. But it's open, because a lot of times we think of things being above us, right? Like God or angels, we think of it above us. So I always have it go up to the sky, and then being open for anything to flow down into it. That's love. And then when they maybe come after you, whether it's a argument or vicious attacks on you, what happens is it doesn't come through. It bounces right back off onto them. So they are exposed to themselves. And that really works. And so I highly suggest that for anybody to use if they feel like they're going to be in one of those situations. So those are just some of the practical guides that I give, advice that I give in doing that.
I like that one, because one of the other things that you can do in that situation when you're surrounding yourself with the two-way mirrors, you can do this while you're in the shower. There's something about water that is very healing and very clearing of energy. And it
Yes.
kind of, if you think about it as washing away bad energy, that's a great practice to do when you're taking a shower. And it's also a
Right.
great time, because usually when you're taking a shower, it's a very mundane activity. Your mind isn't super focused because it's a repetitive thing that you do often. And I think that almost puts you in a little bit of a meditative state that allows you to connect to the other side more easily. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yes. Yeah. Water has, it's something about it. Um, was it Emoto? The guy that did
The water experiments with the words.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, what they do is they put love into the water. They were thinking about love emanating into the water, and had loving thoughts, and you could literally see the droplets of water change form. And they've done lots of experiments with that, and I think that is so true. And I've been in groups where we've done that, and we've cleared some water of debris and things like that by a whole bunch of us just emitting love into the water. So there is something so powerful about that, and I think that's what you're alluding to when you're talking about that, is that process.
Yeah, the washing away. So I think in those experiments, they actually took jars of water and they put different words like love and hate. They looked at the molecular structure of the water droplets, and they changed, and they were very beautiful with affirming positive words like love, but
Right.
they changed and were very stunted and very inconsistent in their formations when there were negative connotations to words like hate.
Right. Correct. There's lots of research out on it. So that's something that somebody could go and look up.
So let's talk about some signs and synchronicities that you see in your life, that helped you to know that your spirit team, your guides, your angels are around you.
Wow. Well, for me personally, um, a lot of things have happened to me where I sh- I shouldn't have made it through. Um, so either bad relationships, um, um, physical, or medical problems that I shouldn't have lived through. And for me, I always make it through. And so I think that, or the suicide attempts where there should have been a ton of damage from trying to attempt, and I come away and I'm fine. And so I think that there's been that physical part that's been there for me. But then there's also things like people I run into, friends that I wind up forming that when we first met had nothing to do. It didn't come out of a reading. It didn't come out of any sort of thing like that. And then to come and find out that they believe the exact same way I did.
So
And
almost like an affinity where you feel like people are drawn to you.
well, I'm not even, it's almost like there's a connection where you're drawn to each other, right? Like it was meant to be. Like, so a lot of that.
Do you think
Where,
you're special in that regard, or do you think
oh,
everybody has the ability to
absolutely.
have that?
No, no, no. I think everybody has the ability to to have that. I think if you're open to it. I think you have to kind of be listening and watching and ready for it. So I think that can happen with anybody. Just like I know that absolutely every person has psychic abilities. Everybody does, and that's where we're born into this world with it. And a lot of times what happens is we're so um it's kind of like when kids start to color and they color outside of the lines because it's most likely that they see auras and things like that, and then they're told to color within the lines, but it has a lot to do with our upbringing and being told there isn't ghosts, there aren't, you're not psychic,
You're
or
not seeing angels.
right, or or that playmate that is just your imagination, right? When a lot of times it could very well be that it's not, that they're actually seeing somebody that you just don't see as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that we all have it. I believe that it can be harnessed. I believe that you can open it back up. I believe that being being open to things and really listening to your intuition is huge. Um, Listening to your heart is big. Um, to me, kind of your intuition and your heart go hand in hand. I think that nobody's quite sure where your intuition lies, although a lot of times for people it feels like it's a feeling in around your solar plexus, right?
Or that gut feeling.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think just being in tune with that and trusting yourself is really key. I
So I
think that's
think
where you start.
that's a really great, it's a great point, trusting yourself. So you have spent a lot of your life writing things down and doing some journaling. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that has probably played into part of your ability to understand that these things are real.
Right. Well, it's funny because when you're feeling these certain ways and you don't have other people that you could really talk to, or just if you're wanting to just put it down for
Validation.
yeah, it gives you a way to go back and validate it yourself when something transpires and happens. For me, when I was younger, I always tried to find validation outside of myself. And I think that got really hard because I was told so many of the time it was just my imagination, or um, I was the kids didn't really feel that way about me, and I there was so much negative things put towards that made me start to wonder if I was really connecting. But then I started journaling it, and because I wanted the proof, I wanted some kind of validation that this was happening. So I think it's important that you validate it for yourself,
Yeah.
and that you don't look outside of yourself for the validation. But the more that you do it, the more it comes, right? It's like a muscle, and the more you work on it, the more you work it out, the better it becomes. So I think that that's really an important thing for people to do for themselves, to kind of get what they want um, out of things.
Yeah, I agree. And you and I are very much of the same philosophy as far as the writing them down. I've had a lot of signs, especially after my passed away loved one, Mark, died. And I would immediately write them down because I did not want to misremember them. Because when these things happen, when these signs happen, they're they get your attention. And they provoke a lot of emotion. But then over time, just like a dream, just like a lot of things, they fade. And we take those memories out and we remember them and we put them back a little bit differently. And then we take them out and we put them back. And so our memory over a long period of time usually isn't very reliable. But when you write them down, there's no disputing exactly how and what and where and when something like that happens. So I do agree that that is a wonderful place to start if you're trying to hone your abilities and your skills. If you write things down, you can go and see how often you were right about something or how you got a feeling and you listen to it. Because again, hindsight is 2020. But when
Right,
you have something written down to go back to, that is really special.
right. Yeah, and then you can share it with somebody else, because then you can write down, on this day and at this time this happened,
Right.
and write something about that.
And
So
so, Stephanie, you have some very special gifts, and there may be people in the audience who are watching who would like to connect with you. So, would you like to share how they can connect to you? I will put things down in the link below.
sure, the best way to get a hold of me is through my email address, which is loveliveson111 at gmail.com.
Okay. So, Stephanie, what type of services do you offer for people?
I offer intuitive and medium readings. So it's both. It's a lot of intuitive, and then it seems like every reading I have, every everybody has passed away loved ones that will come in and want to give them messages, or their spirit team, whether it's angels or spirit guides, will come in. And so that's the readings that I give right now.
Okay, great. So I'll have a link so people can connect to you.
Perfect.
Can you leave us with one last message?
Sure. My biggest message for anybody listening is that listening to your intuition, listening to your gut, is the most powerful tool that you have. And that it's really important that you stop brushing it off, thinking that you're wrong, or that um, maybe it's just your imagination, or you're making it up. And to really go by that, and to spread love wherever you go, whether it's just a, a simple smile that you give to people, because you never ever know what somebody is truly going through. And your smile will will brighten somebody else's day, and then it could make them pass that forward, pay it forward, right? And so you never know what kind of rolling effect you're having, when you're doing just simple things, opening doors for somebody, um, helping somebody with their grocery bag or whatever. It just little acts of kindness.
I think that's beautiful. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for being my guest today. And I wish you just amazing abundance and happiness in your life.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to be with you, Laurie.
Bye.
Bye.
So first of all, before we do anything,
Oh, what are we cheersing to?
we're cheersing to our lifelong sisterly relationship, for being able to help and guide each other in this lifetime. I so appreciate being able to have that with you.
Oh, I do too. Cheers.
Love you. Cheers.
Cheers.